Good evening. Good evening. So, welcome to our webinar, How to Protect Your Ministry from Chaos. So, tonight I'm going to be sharing the 5 systems that every pastor needs in order to have continuity and growth. Okay. So, welcome again. I support churches that are doing faithful ministry, doing faithful ministries, but don't always have the systems in place to support the vision that God has given to them. Okay. And so I'm going to share 5 systems that are going to contribute to continuity and growth. And so this is a weekly briefing every Thursday night at 7 p.m. If you have not registered, register. You can click the link in the description or visit our website at jessicashante.com in order to register for next week's briefing. Okay. And so I think it's important, right, to talk about who this is for and who this is not for as we protect our time. I believe that your time is valuable, and of course, so is mine. So I want to make sure that the right people are in the room. This briefing is designed for serious builders and leaders. And not everyone fits this framework, and that's okay. That is absolutely okay. And so, it is not for, leaders who, just want a quick fix, a magic pill, don't want to put in any type of work because it's not a gimmick, right? To fill seats or to be able to say, hey, this will happen overnight without the hard work of building infrastructure. Okay. Systems require diligence, not just desire. And so this is built in an authentic way. It's built around, biblical practices and stewardship. And so it is not a quick win, right? It does take effort and intention. It is not for pastors who don't believe in structure, right? If you believe that planning, policy, and documentation are unspiritual, it quenches the spirit, so to speak, then this framework will frustrate you. Okay, it'll frustrate you. So wrong place. And again, it's okay. We believe that order facilitates the move of God. 1 Corinthians 14 and 40. And it's also not for leaders who are self-absorbed, I'll say, and want to remain the spotlight. If you derive your value from being the only person who knows the information, knows how to do what needs to be done, then this is certainly not a place for you. Okay. We believe that there's power in empowering others, and that makes you the hero. It really shows up in those leaders who share value in sharing with others. Okay. And so if that's not you, then this model will definitely not work for you. Okay. But this is for, serious leaders, pastors, ministry leaders who do have a deciding authority. Okay. And so you're probably wondering, who is this, right? Who is Jessica Shante? My name is Jessica Bell. I go by Jessica Shante, and I have over 2 decades of experience in the financial sector. Okay. In short, my job is to help lower the blood pressure of leaders, right? And in this sector, the leaders are, pastors and deacon boards. Okay. Fun fact, I was the youngest financial clerk and secretary elected in my church's history, elected at the age of 18. And that's a long story for definitely another day, but I was elected financial clerk and secretary, which I served for several years. My mom was in leadership and assisted many leaders, across counties for many years. And I started balancing ledgers and being a part of, by default, right, policies and procedures and those type of questions, having to figure out things for a long time, for a long time, for many years. And when I was elected into the position, I did not want it, of course. Oh, but they definitely thought that I was a great fit for it, being that, I had a lot of experience modeling and assisting. And so there I was. Okay. So I do have insider knowledge, but inside of that, outside of my church experience, I am a multi-state leader. Okay. That has, again, decades of experience in lending, auditing, compliance, and member service expectation. And so I help to restore order where systems have broken down. Right. I help you breathe again. It all starts with analyzing where the risks are and coming up with a plan, right, that aligns with what the vision is. Okay. Oh, and this is just a quick testimonials that I pulled from some of my other sites. And so one client said, I finally took a vacation without my phone ringing, and it survived, in my absence. Okay. Another business owner said, Jessica is the best thing that happened to my business. We went from 300K to 900K in 2 years. That was Miss Williams. Another business owner said, if I could say it 1,000 times, I would highly recommend Jessica and her team. Her patience and knowledge has given me a sense of peace. And so just wanted to share just a tad bit of what some of my clients say about the type of value and leadership that I bring. Okay. And again, the purpose of today's briefing is just to share some systems that could improve your attendance rates, your communication, and your giving, which all contributes to growth. Overall, any business, any operation, be it nonprofit or profit, we want sustainability. And so there needs to be growth. And when you build the foundation right, when you have systems to assist, then growth happens automatically. Okay. The reality that I see pastors living in is most of them are carrying far more than preaching and teaching, although that's their role, that's the main job. But they're managing so many different things. They're managing people, finances, communication, follow-up, expectations, often without formal systems. Okay. Many churches run on memory, goodwill, personal sacrifice, and it does work until it doesn't, right? When we're in reactive mode, and the goal, right, when we are professionals, we are business minded, then we show up. And a part of that is ensuring that we're proactive and not reactive, because when we're reactive by default, then we're always right running like at the drop of, when this happens, when that happens. Okay. Most of the time, it is definitely a lack of structure. It don't have anything to do with faith, right? You're good at what you do. You bring the word, but it's structure. Structure protects the ministry, okay? And it has nothing to do with not being spiritual. This is a question that I ask every single week. If something happened to the pastor today, what would the church do tomorrow? And if you don't have an instant answer, if it's not like that, right? We know that we have a solid plan. We know what's in place. Communication has been had. Things, we know what needs to be done. When there's proactive communication that goes out, it's consistent communication that goes out. If there's any pause or delay in thinking through that, then you're like most other ministries. And nothing is wrong with that. They don't have a clear answer. And this is the foundation of chaos. And so let's talk about when we're in the midst of chaos, there's risk, right? And risk creeps in silently. When you used to having a congregation full of members, and all of a sudden you look around and the pews are empty, it's the same faithful few Sunday after Sunday. That's a risk, right? That's a risk. And pressure comes with risk. Okay. When there's not consistent and clear communication, that's a risk. When we don't have a proper and healthy balance of how things should take place, when they should take place, that's also a risk. When lines cross, right? There is value in the different of opinions, right? It really is. In leadership, we call them, we hash out meetings. So, we have those meetings where our perspectives aren't always aligned, which helps us to get to a healthy place. But when there are not, when we don't deal with issues, when there's not a process in place for when we cross those boundaries and we don't have guardrails, that's a risk. That's a risk. In addition to that, when we don't have a clear picture of our finances, where is the money going? When is it going? That's risk. That is certainly a risk. Okay. And so planning and leadership, developing clear protocols help identify future leaders. Okay. Having a safety and security plan, communication outreach, financial stability. So we're going to talk about tools versus, systems. And I always want to make sure that I'm grounding it in biblical framework and stewardship, right? I believe in the word. I do, right? I believe in it. And so scripture tells us, let all things be done decently and in order. That's 1 Corinthians 14:40. And then Luke 12:48 says, to whom much is given, much is required. This scripture should be in the back pocket of leaders in ministry, especially pastors and deacons. To whom much is given, much is required. More is expected of you because he's given you more. You have the vision, you have the power and authority. Much is given to you. And so, of course, it's only fair and only right for more to be required of you. You're expected to show up. You're expected to have those hard conversations. You're expected to be the leader and the mediator. Rightfully so, right? You have the tools. Okay. Stewardship requires structure and legacy requires planning. It really does. So I want to talk about the cost of missing systems. When systems are missing, there's a few things that will happen. Okay. Visitors and members, they will slip through the crack. It's just happening. It's inevitable. It happens. Okay. Not just at your church. It's all over. It happens. The giving declines, right? It's unpredictable. Or it's the same members that pay tithes over and over again. Okay. Attendance patterns aren't noticed early. So when, Miss Sue missed church 2 Sundays ago, nobody reached out, nobody said anything. Now it's been a month and she hasn't been back, and it's been 2 months and 3 months, and now she's at the church across the street, right? Attendance patterns aren't noticed when we don't have systems in place, because we're all valuable. We want to feel like it. We want to know it. We want to hear it. Financial clarity. Financial clarity is hard to explain when you're missing systems. So you might have this big vision that can really do wonders for the community. But if you can't clearly show, the members and the congregation where this is feasible, there's financial fog, then getting the buy-in is going to be hard. It's going to be hard. And when you're missing system, leadership is just overwhelmed, right? Part of that has to do with the position. It does. There's a lot of burden in leadership. Trust me, I know. Been towing this road a long time. And so there is burden that comes with it, especially as a pastor or a deacon, but it doesn't have to be to the point where it's chaotic overwhelm, it's dreadful overwhelm where there's some regret. It doesn't have to be that way. And systems help balance that. Okay. Communication is few and far in between. You know it, he know it, she know it. So y'all feels like everybody knows it, but they don't. Communication has to be clear and it has to be consistent. Okay. Systems will help with that. Okay. And the church becomes vulnerable and everything slows. Okay. All of these things is what contributed to the church continuity platform, which are the systems that I mentioned that every pastor needs in order to have continuity and growth. So no, it is not software that's handed to you. It is a system that we install for you. Okay. And so we're going to talk about those 5 systems. They help create stability, consistency, and continuity. Okay. What's that plan when something happens? Okay. So the first system we talk about is the engagement system. And the purpose of this is simple. It's going to keep your members' connection. It's going to keep things fluid. The members are going to be valued. They're going to be active, and it's going to help the church, not only stay connected to the members, but also to the visitors. When someone stops attending, it's going to reveal that. Okay. The members are going to feel special, right? Because they're going to get acknowledged on their birthdays, on their anniversary. It's been 5 years since you joined the church. Your birthday is today. You're going to get a happy birthday message, right? It's going to encourage consistent giving without pressure, because once we get baptized, or once we join a church, right, we move our membership, a transfer, we receive our letter, all those things, right? You go through that initial, training and schooling, and really that's lost. That's it. But communication should be had on a consistent basis. The purpose of tithes, the importance of tithes, and delivered in a way where it's receptive and members don't feel like, oh, I ain't paying it because, I don't have to. That ain't what it's about. Right. And so we fight that with education, coming from a place of sincere care, love, and desire. The church can't survive without your offerings, without your tithes. Right? As a member, that is part of our duty to pay our tithes. Okay. Part of this is that you can see a clear financial snapshot from a glance. What happens? We're going to identify those trends quickly. Okay. And we're going to prepare leadership early. And I want you to remember, as I talk through these 5 systems, that everything is done for you. The setup, the structure, and the support. You focus on the ministry, we focus on the management. Okay. So as I go through the other 4 systems, I want you to think about, Is your church today operating the way that you truly envision it should be? If it's not, then I really believe that you'll find value. Okay. Are the pews as full as you believe they could be? Now, if your church is at capacity or you're satisfied with the ones that's come to church and a member, then totally fine. Okay. But if you're not, then we have something for you. Okay. Is given consistent month to month, or does it feel unpredictable? When someone stops attending, do they feel noticed? Do they feel like you care? Or do they just silently drift away? And next thing you know, we're receiving a request to send their letter because they moved their membership, or they just don't come back. Is that felt? Our system number 2 is so important to sustainability. It's important to the way we show up as Christians and believers. The giving system. Okay. And what the scripture says is more blessed to give than to receive. I do believe that. I do believe that if you give, you will certainly receive. Okay, your giving would not be in vain. And so, given the purpose of it is to stabilize and have some type of financial consistency. So, this is going to create a workflow that increases giving, right? It's going to be reminders, and not in a chaotic or push way to make say all that they want is money. Nothing like that. Okay, lapse giver follow up. If you are at work, you can still pay your tithes. There are people who still want to pay, but they just don't have the system and the ability to pay. And so we want to make sure that there's opportunity. Whether you take the opportunity or not, it's totally up to you. It's totally up to you. But if you want it, then we want to make sure that you have the systems and the tools to take action. Year-end giving comparison. Okay. Everything is done for you. The support, the structure, and the setup. We're going to manage it. You're going to focus on the ministry. The next system, you can't have 1 and 2 without the 3. Communication system. Okay. Keep the church informed and unified. You cannot sustain a relationship with your wife if you don't talk to her, if y'all are not on the same page. Even when there's different of opinions, there has to be some type of unification in order for it to work. Same philosophy, same thing. And so with the communication system, we make sure that event reminders go out. Okay. The youth anniversary is coming up the second Sunday in February, right? We make sure they know the family picnic, family and friends day is going to be the first Sunday in April. You know, those proactive small pieces of information that really do matter across all mediums, not just on social media. Although social media is a thing of today, everybody's not on social media, but everybody got a phone. So, we have, those that love email. For me, I do. I love email. Oh, but email, text messages, the communication are going to reach them on whatever medium that they choose. Some people don't want to have to log into social media to get an update. And I'm one of those. My family and friends know if it is something that I need to see or you need to tell me, you need to reach out to me. A text is sufficient. Email works even better. But I'm not going to get it on social media. If I got to go to social media and find it, I'm not going to get it. And so we have to meet people where they are. But showing care and concern really does go a long way because communication does matter. It really does. Outreach messages. Okay. We need volunteers, for, this member died or her family member died, right? And we need volunteers to serve on the kitchen committee because it's through the week all those things that really do matter. Prayer request communication. We're going to make sure that those requests are adhered to, they're seen, they're felt, they're acknowledged. Okay. The sermon series notifications. I realize that there's more opportunity here, but when there are systems in place, you can be proactive, right? You can know the sermons that are going to take place every Sunday in February, right? And you can communicate that ahead of time. Even, create a little urgency, right? There, this is one with the enticing title. And so, yeah, if I got to choose, I need to be there the second Sunday because I really want to hear this sermon. Automated church-wide updates. Whatever is going on with the church, there should be church-wide updates. There, information should not be private, discretionary, and passed along and shared to only a select few. If it's church business, it's church business. And so all the members of the church have a right to know. Having a communication system in place fixes that. Communication builds connection and it builds trust. We install it for you. We set it up, we structure it, we provide you the support. Okay. You're going to focus on the ministry. Our fourth system is the growth and new member system. One of my favorites. Okay. Most churches operate without a ready continuity plan. I'm talking about it's ready, it's up to date. When this happened, this is going to be valid, valuable, accurate information that we can execute and take action on right now. Okay. Growth and new member system is going to have emergency leadership protocols, automated communication, the automated giving processes, member engagement workflows, a secure vault for essential documents, privacy for the things that should be and need to be private. Okay. The absence of systems leave you vulnerable. It does. We do that for you. Set up, structure, and support. You focus on the ministry. We focus on the management. Okay. And our fifth system, continuity and leadership protection system. Now, this is where legacy comes in at. We protect the pastor, leadership, and the ministry from crisis. We have a pastoral continuity vault. Okay. We have an emergency governance plan, a key document storage, access protocols, leadership transition. So we have a phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, preparation. What's the interim process? What's the interim period? All of those things defined clearly because communication matters, right? And leaders, we can tell leaders that got their stuff together from the ones that don't, right? So it shows, and systems help with those things. A lot of times people think, oh, they have money, or they're just smart. They have systems. That's really the key. They have systems and structure. Okay. Continuity protects legacy. And so those 5 systems, again, every ministry needs engagement. You need giving, communication, growth, and continuity. When these systems run together, then, you become unstoppable and protected, and your church grows, the vision grows, and you're in position that when you leave, right, you go down in history. You leave a legacy behind. And, a part of that also is like the pastoral protection, making sure that the first lady and the church receives financial protection when something happens, if it happens while you're pastor. Okay. And again, everything is done for you. setup, structure, and support. You're going to focus on the ministry while we focus on the management. And I've shared all of that. And I asked, why ministry struggle? We've talked about so many struggles that are undeniable. We know these things happen week to week across our country, across our state, across our county, across our city. It happens. It happens at no fault of your own. But like my granny used to say, when you know better, you do better, right? When you learn to, there's I have heard, especially in leadership, we'd be in a meeting and somebody would say, after we go through a scenario or learn some key information, they'd say, knowledge is power. I beg to differ. I want to challenge that a little bit. Knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power. You can know what to do, but if you don't do it, then you're making no major impact. You're not affecting change. There's nothing mysterious that will happen just because you know information. But when you apply the information that you know, it does. You ask the question, you make a decision, okay? Your pews can start filling as early as next week. And so while you continue to think, I want to talk briefly for the cost of missing systems because it's far greater than any amount of money, okay? The real cost is not only, the loss of members, but, the loss of lives, loss of giving, continuity, stability, burnout. Systems increase ministry longevity, okay? When your systems run automatically, your ministry will experience order, clarity, structure, engagement, consistency, and protection. This is the transformation that unfortunately most churches never experience. And you don't need a big church to have big structure. You don't. You can operate soundly and better than large, churches with lots of membership with a system in place, okay? Systems build credibility, excellence, and operational confidence, no matter the size, no matter how big or how small. And so I know going through all of that, there are some questions, and I want to address some that have already surfaced, okay? Do we need staff to run this? Absolutely not. Automation handles the work. We build the system and the automation does the work for you. Your team simply oversees what is already running if you desire to. What happens if, the pastoral leadership is unavailable? Well, the continuity vault provides emergency steps, the governance plan, the key documents, access control, and leadership direction. Is this replacing ministry? No. Systems strengthen ministry by freeing you as a leader to focus on the preaching, the people, and the prayers. What if we don't have the budget? Missing system costs way more, and the membership loss, the giving loss, the leadership burnout, the crisis disruption, systems pay for themselves by creating stability. Okay. And so I'm going to introduce my, core and platinum offer. This is a system that, again, is going to help your church to run smoothly so you don't have to carry everything alone. What the system does, okay, it is going to help members to be in attendance, to show up, to give on time, even when they're at work. It's going to help them to feel valued and stay connected. It's going to send the messages for you. It's going to keep important church plans safe. You're going to see what's happening in your church, okay? Messages and follow ups. People won't fall through the cracks. Giving and tithes will increase. Giving will become steady and simple. The pastoral continuity vault. Bottom line is your church is protected when something happens. Okay. So you choose the offer that is right for you. And so the very basic offer is our core offer. And so it's 197 a month. And this is going to be best for a church, more of the startup church, right? Well, I won't say startup church, but more of the church who really just wants just wants to test the waters, right? This is going to help with keeping your giving steady, helps with the connection between you and the members. It's going to send those messages, going to put everybody in the know so they know what's happening. You're going to get the member engagement system, the communication automation, the guided setup and support, and then the giving setup. The goal is best for churches who are thinking ahead, right? Who are not just in the moment, but are actually looking ahead. You're going to get everything in core. Plus, you're going to get the clear plans, right? If something happens, we'll flush through that. Leadership and church protection, important documents organized. You're going to have less fear about the future because you're going to be able to have a clear picture of what's going on. So this is going to, protect the church, protect the pastor, and protect your legacy. Okay. So when you compare the two, both of them will reduce stress, will bring order, and will support your church long term. Okay. The goal is just going to give you a deeper and more focused selection. Okay. And so enrollment is now open. You can choose the platform and begin installing your systems today. It's a pretty simple and straightforward process because I believe that your church deserves order. I believe that. I believe that your church deserves engagement. I believe they deserve protection, continuity. I believe that your legacy deserved some stability. So choosing your plan today, you can begin installation today. Okay. Um, if you go to jessicashuntay.com, that is JESSICASHUNTA.com, you can actually, click on the system of your choice and we can have a conversation if there's any questions, or you can sign up right away, or you can click the link in the description to download the continuity checklist, which I believe will be valuable to you just to kind of get a feel and start kind of assessing where things really are and analyzing what really is my plan, right? This is the beginning of 2026. So what better time than now that to get serious and to implement a structure and business that you believe and that can bloom and blossom with some support. Okay. Again, my name is Jessica Shante. Thank you, so much for attending. And Thursday, good night.